The arena on Charon Prime was larger than any stadium on Earth. Thousands of alien officers filled the giant seats that stretched high into metallic walls. Bright lights shined down from the ceiling, reflecting off armor, medals, and banners from hundreds of worlds. Today was a special day. The Galactic Alliance Military Summit was taking place. The strongest soldiers from across known space had gathered to show their skills and discuss future security plans. Many species were proud to be there. Many hoped to earn respect. Others simply wanted attention. Among the crowd stood a single human, U.S. Marine Sergeant Daniel Hayes. He wore a simple dark blue military uniform with only a few medals on his chest. Compared to the colorful armor worn by many alien warriors, his appearance seemed ordinary. Some aliens barely noticed him. Others stared with curiosity. Humans were still new to the galaxy. Only 30 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Alliance. Most species knew very little about them. They knew humans came from a dangerous world called Earth. They knew humans fought many wars in their history. But they also believed humans were weak compared to older galactic civilizations. After all, human technology was average. Their fleets were small. Their territory was limited. Many aliens saw humanity as a minor species. Sergeant Hayes knew this. He had heard the jokes before. He had heard the insults before. But he never cared. A Marine was trained to stay calm under pressure. Today would test that training more than ever. At the center of the arena stood the most famous warrior in the Alliance, Commander Vrax. The giant alien was nearly 8 feet tall. His thick armor was covered with battle marks. Dozens of medals hung across his chest. Stories about his victories were known throughout the galaxy. Many considered him unbeatable. Many considered him a hero. Unfortunately, Vrax also had another reputation. He loved humiliating others, especially species he considered weak. As Vrax walked through the arena, crowds cheered loudly. Some officers stood and saluted. Others shouted his name. Vrax enjoyed every second of it. Then his eyes landed on Sergeant Hayes. The human stood quietly near one side of the arena, arms behind his back, expression calm. For a moment, Vrax simply stared. Then a smile appeared on his face, a dangerous smile. Several nearby officers noticed. One of them whispered nervously, "Oh no!" Another sighed, "Not again." Vrax changed direction and walked straight toward the human. The crowd slowly noticed. Conversation stopped. People began watching. Everyone knew something was about to happen. Vrax stopped only a few feet from Hayes. The size difference was impossible to ignore. The alien towered over the Marine. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Vrax laughed, a loud, mocking laugh. The sound echoed through the arena. "What is this?" Vrax asked loudly. His voice carried across the room. "A human soldier?" Some officers chuckled. Others looked uncomfortable. Hayes remained silent. Vrax circled him slowly, as small as the story said. More laughter came from the crowd. Hayes did not react. Vrax continued, "I have seen maintenance workers wearing stronger armor." The laughter grew louder. Many cameras turned toward them. The situation was becoming the center of attention. Still, Hayes said nothing. His face remained calm. His breathing remained steady. This seemed to annoy Vrax. The commander stepped closer. "You are a military representative?" He shook his head dramatically. The Alliance must be desperate. Several aliens laughed again. A few human diplomats sitting nearby exchanged worried looks. They wanted to intervene, but Hayes gave them a small signal. Stay quiet. He could handle it. Vrax looked around at the crowd. "You know what the problem with humans is?" The arena became silent. Everyone listened. They think surviving on a dangerous planet makes them special. More laughter followed. Vrax pointed directly at Hayes. "But surviving animals are not warriors." The crowd erupted. Some officers clapped. Others cheered. Many simply watched. Hayes remained completely still. That confused Vrax. Normally his insults produced anger, fear, embarrassment. The human showed none of those emotions. The Marine simply stood there, calm, patient, almost as if nothing mattered. Vrax narrowed his eyes. "Do you have nothing to say?" Hayes finally spoke. His voice was quiet, controlled, professional. "I came here to represent Earth." The simple answer surprised some listeners. Vrax laughed again. "That is all." Hayes nodded. "That is all." For a brief moment, silence filled the arena. Then Vrax made a mistake. A very big mistake. He reached forward and shoved Marine. The push was not enough to cause serious injury, but it was enough. The arena instantly became quiet. No laughter, no talking, nothing. Thousands of eyes watched the scene. Even the cameras stopped moving. Everyone knew military representatives were protected during Alliance events. Physical aggression was forbidden. Vrax clearly did not care. Hayes took one step backward from the force. Then he calmly adjusted his uniform. No anger, no shouting, no threats. The Marine simply fixed his jacket. That reaction confused everyone. Vrax expected outrage. Instead, he received calm silence. For the first time, uncertainty appeared in his eyes. Then Hayes looked directly at him. The Marine's voice remained calm, almost too calm. "Be careful what you laugh at." The words were simple, but something about them felt different. Several officers exchanged nervous glances. The room suddenly felt colder. Vrax stared at him for a second. Then he burst into laughter once more. The crowd joined him. Soon the entire arena was laughing again. To them, it sounded like a weak warning, a joke, nothing more. Only Hayes knew the truth. Only a handful of people back on Earth knew the truth. Humanity had spent 20 years preparing for a future nobody else expected. 20 years learning, building, planning, waiting. The galaxy believed humans were weak. Humanity had allowed them to believe it. And now, standing inside the largest military arena in known space, Sergeant Daniel Hayes realized something important. Commander Vrax had just crossed a line. The alien did not know it yet. The crowd did not know it yet. The Galactic Alliance did not know it yet. But before long, the entire galaxy would remember this day. The day an alien soldier mocked a U.S. Marine. And the day everything began to change. The laughter continued long after Sergeant Daniel Hayes left the arena. Across Karen Prime, clips of the incident spread quickly. News channels replayed the moment over and over. The famous Commander Vrax mocking a human Marine. The giant alien shoving him in front of thousands of military officers. The crowd laughing. To most of the galaxy, it was entertaining. To humanity, it was something else. Back on Earth, the video reached military headquarters within minutes. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, inside one of humanity's most secure command centers, dozens of officers watched the footage in silence. Nobody laughed. Nobody spoke. The room remained quiet. At the center of the command table sat Admiral Marcus Reed, a man known for staying calm during every crisis. As the video ended, he folded his hands. "How many times?" he asked. An intelligence officer checked her screen. "This is the 32nd public incident involving Commander Vrax." The room remained silent. Another officer spoke. "He keeps pushing harder every year." Admiral Reed nodded slowly. "Because he thinks there are no consequences." The giant display screen switched to another image. It showed hundreds of reports. Insults, trade restrictions, attacks on human cargo ships, harassment of human diplomats. Most species never noticed these events. Humanity rarely complained. Humanity rarely responded. Instead, humanity watched and learned. For 20 years, Earth had followed a simple rule. Never show everything you can do. The galaxy believed humans were weak. Humanity had allowed that belief to grow. It gave them time. Time to prepare. Time to build. Time to improve. While alien empires competed for power, humans focused on something else. Efficiency, innovation, adaptation. Every mistake became a lesson. Every challenge became an opportunity. And now those 20 years of work were hidden throughout human space, far from public eyes, far from alien spies. The galaxy thought it knew humanity. The truth was very different. Meanwhile, on Karen Prime, Commander Vrax enjoyed his growing fame. Everywhere he went, officers congratulated him. Many repeated his jokes about humans. Others praised his confidence. The attention made him even more arrogant. Late that evening, he attended a celebration banquet. Military leaders from dozens of species gathered inside a massive hall. Music played. Food was served. Speeches filled the air. As expected, Vrax became the center of attention. One officer raised a glass. To Commander Vrax. Cheers echoed across the room. Vrax smiled proudly. Another officer laughed. The human Marine looked terrified. More laughter followed. Vrax enjoyed every second of it. But not everyone shared his amusement. At one table sat Ambassador Alara, one of the Alliance's senior diplomats. She had watched the arena incident carefully. Something about it bothered her. The Marine's reaction felt wrong. Most people became angry when insulted. Others became embarrassed. Sergeant Hayes had shown neither. Instead, he had looked almost confident, as if he knew something, as if he was waiting for something. The thought stayed with her. Several tables away, Vrax continued telling stories. Humans are predictable, he announced. They bark loudly but accomplish little. The crowd laughed. Then a young officer asked a question. What did you think when the Marine warned you? Vrax grinned. I thought it was adorable. The room exploded with laughter once again. Far away, on Earth, nobody was laughing. Inside a secure communications center, Sergeant Hayes finally sent his official report. The message was short, only 4 words. Situation becoming unacceptable. The message traveled through encrypted military networks. Within seconds, it reached command centers across Earth. Within minutes, it reached Mars. Then Luna. Then dozens of hidden facilities scattered across human territory. The response was immediate. Secure meetings began. Generals reviewed old files. Admirals examined contingency plans. Artificial intelligence systems activated classified protocols. For years, these plans have remained untouched. Most people believed they would never be needed. Tonight was different. Something had changed. Not because Vrax had insulted one Marine. Humans could tolerate insults. They had tolerated them for decades. The concern was something larger. Each year, the aggression increased. Each year, the disrespect became worse. Each year, certain alien leaders pushed a little farther. Humanity had hoped diplomacy would solve the problem. Now that hope was fading. Deep within one classified shipyard orbiting Jupiter, workers received new orders. Massive construction projects accelerated. Security levels increased. Docking bays opened. Crew members rushed to their stations. Officially, nothing unusual was happening. Unofficially, preparations had begun. Back on Karen Prime, Ambassador Alara could not stop thinking about the Marine. Near midnight, she requested access to human military records. Most files remained classified. That was expected. But one detail caught her attention. Human military doctrine. The information was limited, yet one sentence stood out. She read it twice, then 3 times. The greatest mistake an enemy can make is assuming human patience is weakness. Alara leaned back in her chair. A strange feeling settled in her stomach. For the first time all day, she felt worried, very worried. At that same moment, Sergeant Hayes stood alone on a balcony, overlooking the city lights of Karen Prime. Thousands of vehicles moved below. Ships crossed the night sky. Everything looked peaceful, normal, but he knew appearances could be deceiving. His communicator vibrated. A message appeared. He read it once, then placed the device back into his pocket. No emotion crossed his face. The message contained only 3 words. Preparations have begun. Hayes looked toward the stars. Somewhere beyond them lay Earth, his home, a world the galaxy constantly underestimated, a world that had spent decades quietly preparing for the future. Commander Vrax believed the incident was over. He believed he had won. The entire galaxy believed the same thing. None of them realized they were standing at the beginning of something much larger. And soon, a single insult would start a chain of events that no one could stop. 3 days passed after the incident in the arena. Officially, nothing had changed. The Galactic Alliance continued its meetings. Military leaders attended conferences. Diplomats discussed trade agreements. News channels moved on to other stories. To most people, the confrontation between Commander Vrax and Sergeant Daniel Hayes was already old news. But beneath the surface, something was happening. something few people could see, something even fewer could understand. On Karen Prime, Sergeant Hayes remained calm. He attended meetings, spoke with diplomats, followed every alliance rule. From the outside, he appeared completely unbothered. But every night, encrypted messages traveled between him and Earth. The reports were short, precise, professional. Human command wanted information. Hayes provided it. And with each report, concern inside Earth's military leadership continued to grow. Meanwhile, Commander Vrax became more arrogant than ever. The attention from the arena incident had increased his popularity. Crowds followed him. Journalists requested interviews. Young soldiers treated him like a hero. The praise fed his ego. Soon he stopped hiding his dislike of humanity. His insults became public, more frequent, more aggressive. Every speech included another joke about humans. Every interview included another criticism. Many officers laughed. Others remained silent. A few quietly worried. Among them was Ambassador Ilera. The more she studied humanity, the more uncomfortable she became. Their history did not match the galaxy's opinion of them. Humans were strange. Most species grew stronger through technology. Humans grew stronger through hardship. Every disaster seemed to make them tougher. Every war seemed to make them smarter. Every failure seemed to push them forward. The pattern disturbed her, because species like that were dangerous when cornered. Very dangerous. Unfortunately, Commander Vrax was about to corner them. The turning point came during the Alliance Unity broadcast. It was one of the largest events in the galaxy. Billions watched every year. Leaders from different worlds appeared together to show peace and cooperation. This year, human diplomats were invited to participate. The event took place inside the Grand Assembly Hall. The building was enormous. Thousands of guests filled the seats. Hundreds of cameras broadcast the ceremony across known space. Sergeant Hayes stood among the human delegation. Everything seemed normal until Commander Vrax arrived. The moment he entered the hall, Hayes noticed something. Vrax looked angry, not confident, not amused, angry, as if simply seeing humans bothered him. The ceremony began. Speeches were delivered. Awards were presented. The audience applauded politely. Then the human delegation stepped forward. Their leader was Ambassador Sarah Mitchell, a calm woman with decades of diplomatic experience. She approached the stage and began speaking about cooperation, about peace, about building stronger relationships between species. Many listened carefully. Others looked bored. Then Vrax stood up. At first, nobody understood why. The schedule did not include him. The speech was not his. Yet he walked directly toward the stage. The room fell silent. Thousands watched. Ambassador Mitchell paused. Vrax climbed the platform. A smile appeared on his face. The same smile he had worn in the arena. The dangerous one. The cameras focused on him. Across the galaxy, billions watched. What cooperation? Vrax asked loudly. The audience shifted uncomfortably. Mitchell remained calm. Commander, this is not the time. Vrax interrupted her. Humans contribute nothing. Murmurs spread through the hall. Some leaders exchanged worried looks. This was becoming a disaster. Yet Vrax continued. Your species survives because stronger civilizations allow it. The room grew quieter. Even some of Vrax's supporters seemed uncomfortable now. There was a difference between confidence and humiliation. He was crossing that line. Again, Mitchell kept her voice steady. We came here as allies. Vrax laughed. Allies? He turned toward the audience. Tell me, what exactly have humans done that deserves respect? Silence. Nobody answered. Not because they agreed, because they were shocked. Then Vrax made the worst decision of his life. He pointed toward the human delegation. Remove them. For several seconds, nobody moved. Surely he was joking. Surely he did not mean it. Then Alliance security officers hesitated, confused, uncertain, and Vrax shouted the order again. Remove them now. The entire hall froze. Ambassador Ilera's face turned pale. Several diplomats stood up immediately. Protests filled the room. Commander, this violates Alliance law. You cannot do this. Vrax ignored them. Security officers reluctantly approached the humans. The cameras continued broadcasting everything. Billions watched live. Every second, every reaction, every mistake. Sergeant Hayes stepped forward. For a moment, many expected him to resist. He didn't. Instead, he calmly stood beside Ambassador Mitchell. The security officers surrounded them. Then something unexpected happened. Mitchell smiled. Not a nervous smile. Not a frightened smile. A confident smile. The kind of smile that made people uneasy. Vrax noticed. His expression darkened. What is so funny? Mitchell looked directly at him. The room became silent. Every camera focused on her face. Then she spoke. Slowly, clearly. You still don't understand who you're provoking. The words echoed across the hall, across television screens, across planets, across star systems. Vrax laughed immediately. The crowd did not. Something about her tone felt wrong. Almost everyone sensed it. The confidence, the certainty, the warning. Security officers escorted the humans away. The broadcast ended shortly afterward. Alliance leaders rushed into emergency meetings. Journalists filled news networks with speculation. Social media exploded. Some defended Vrax. Others condemned him. The galaxy argued throughout the night. Then came the discovery. 6 hours later, a remote sensor station near Alliance territory detected something unusual. At first, operators believed it was an equipment malfunction. The readings made no sense. Thousands of signals had suddenly appeared, not gradually, instantly, as if entire fleets had materialized from nowhere. The operators recalibrated their instruments. The contacts remained. Then more stations reported the same thing. Dozens, hundreds, thousands of unidentified ships, moving in perfect formation, heading toward major alliance regions. Panic spread rapidly. Military headquarters across the galaxy activated emergency protocols. Admirals demanded answers. Scientists searched for explanations. Nobody found any. The ships had appeared where no ship should exist. Even stranger, every vessel carried the same identification code. Human. Hours later, confirmation arrived. The impossible fleet belonged to Earth. Not dozens of ships. Not hundreds. Thousands. Massive warships. Support vessels. Carriers. Destroyers. Entire fleets nobody knew existed. The galaxy watched in shock. For 20 years, humanity had hidden its strength. Now the truth was emerging, and the numbers terrified everyone. On Karen Prime, Commander Vrax finally received a report. As he stared at the data, his confidence disappeared. For the first time in many years, fear entered his eyes, because the ships were heading in only one direction, toward him, toward Karen Prime. And suddenly, Sergeant Hayes' warning no longer sounded like a joke. It sounded like a promise. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every military station, every government office, every news network, every civilian communication system, they all carried the same shocking report. Thousands of human warships had appeared, not near Earth, not near human colonies, inside Alliance-controlled space. And nobody knew how. Fear began spreading immediately. Military analysts worked without rest. Admirals studied sensor data. Scientists searched for answers. Nothing made sense. The ships had somehow bypassed the most advanced detection systems in the galaxy. Entire fleets had appeared almost overnight. For decades, the Alliance believed humanity possessed only a modest military force. The new reports proved otherwise. They had been wrong. Very wrong. Inside Alliance High Command, emergency meetings continued around the clock. Large holographic maps filled the room. Red markers covered entire star sectors. Each marker represented a human fleet. The number kept growing. Every hour, new reports arrived. Every hour, the situation became worse. One nervous officer looked at the display. This cannot be real. Another officer swallowed hard. It is... The room fell silent. Across the table sat Commander Vrax. Gone was the smiling warrior from the arena. Gone was the arrogant hero from the broadcasts. Now he looked worried. For the first time, he understood the situation was serious. very serious. Still, he refused to admit it. This is intimidation, he said. No species would risk war over insults. Some officers nodded. Others looked unconvinced. Then Admiral Torvak pointed toward the map. If this is intimidation, why are they surrounding our strategic systems? Nobody answered. The question hung in the air, because everyone knew the truth. Humanity was sending a message the galaxy could no longer ignore. Meanwhile, on Earth, the atmosphere remained calm. No panic, no celebrations, no angry speeches. Human leaders simply carried out their plans. Inside a massive command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, fleet commanders monitored operations. Thousands of officers worked quietly. The mission was simple: protect human citizens, protect human diplomats, avoid war if possible, but show strength if necessary. Admiral Marcus Reed stood before a giant display screen. The human fleets moved across space with incredible precision. Every ship knew its role. Every captain understood the objective. The operation had been planned years earlier. Nobody wanted to use it, but humanity had always believed in preparation. Hope for peace, prepare for danger. That philosophy had guided them for centuries. Now the galaxy was finally seeing the result. Back on Karen Prime, fear was spreading among civilians. People watched news reports from their homes, restaurants, factories, schools. Every channel showed images of human warships. The vessels looked different from Alliance designs. Their shapes were simple, practical, built for function rather than appearance. Many looked intimidating, others looked ancient, but all shared one thing: power, the kind of power that cannot be ignored. As panic increased, Alliance leaders prepared defensive fleets. Thousands of warships received combat orders. Weapons were activated. Shield systems came online. The galaxy moved closer to war than it had in decades. Then something unexpected happened. The human fleets reached Alliance territory, and they did not attack. No planets were bombed. No stations were destroyed. No missiles were launched. Instead, human ships positioned themselves around important military locations. Watching, waiting, the silence made everything worse, because nobody knew what would happen next. Hours later, every screen in Alliance space suddenly flickered. Homes, ships, military bases, government buildings. The same image appeared everywhere. A human flag. Behind it stood Admiral Marcus Reed. His face was calm. His voice was steady. And the entire galaxy listened. Citizens of the Galactic Alliance. The room behind him remained silent. Human officers stood at attention. We did not come here seeking war. Across thousands of worlds, billions watched. We came because human diplomats have been threatened. The Admiral paused. His eyes remained focused. For years, humanity accepted insults. Another pause. For years, humanity chose patience. Military officers across the galaxy listened carefully. Some felt nervous. Others felt ashamed, because they knew he was right. Many species had treated humanity unfairly, and humanity had tolerated it. Until now, Reed continued, patience should never be confused with weakness. Those words spread across every world, every screen, every military headquarters, every government office. Then came the demand. Simple, direct, impossible to misunderstand. All detained human personnel must be released immediately. The Admiral's voice never changed. An official apology must be issued. Silence filled the broadcast. Then came the final sentence. If these conditions are met, our fleets will withdraw peacefully. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The entire galaxy seemed frozen. The message ended. The screens returned to normal. And suddenly all attention turned toward one person, Commander Vrax, the officer responsible for everything. Inside Alliance High Command, angry voices exploded. You caused this. You violated diplomatic law. You ignored warnings. The accusations came from every direction. Vrax tried defending himself. They are bluffing. But his confidence was fading. Even he no longer believed his own words. Because new reports continued arriving. Human fleets had already neutralized several defense networks. without firing a shot, without causing casualties. They simply shut them down. Communication arrays stopped working. Targeting systems failed. Entire military installations went dark. The efficiency terrified Alliance commanders. Humanity possessed technologies nobody knew existed, technologies they had hidden for decades. At that moment, Ambassador Ilera entered the command room. Her expression was serious. She placed a report on the table. "I've reviewed human history." Nobody responded. She looked directly at Vrax. "You made a terrible mistake." The room fell silent. Ilera activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared. Ancient wars, natural disasters, economic collapses, global conflicts. Human history was filled with hardship. Yet every time they suffered, they adapted. Every time they fell, they stood back up. Every challenge made them stronger. "They are not dangerous because they love war," Ilera said quietly. "They are dangerous because they understand it." Nobody argued. The evidence was right in front of them. Humanity had built a massive military force without threatening anyone, without conquering anyone, without demanding attention. They had prepared quietly, patiently, and now that preparation surrounded the Alliance. Far above Karen Prime, thousands of human warships floated silently in orbit. Their weapons remained inactive. Their shields remained lowered. Yet their presence alone changed everything. Sergeant Daniel Hayes stood aboard the human flagship, looking through a large observation window. The planet turned slowly beneath him. A young officer approached. "Sir, new message from Alliance leadership." Hayes accepted the datapad. He read it carefully. Then a small smile appeared on his face. The first smile anyone had seen from him in days. Because after years of mockery, years of disrespect, years of being underestimated, the galaxy was finally beginning to understand. Humanity had not come for revenge. Humanity had come for respect. And for the first time, the entire galaxy was listening. The galaxy held its breath. For 3 days, the human fleets remained in position around Karen Prime and dozens of important Alliance systems. They did not attack. They did not threaten civilians. They did not fire a single shot. They simply waited. And somehow, that made the situation even more frightening. Every military commander in the Alliance understood the truth. Humanity had demonstrated complete control. If they wanted war, it would have already begun. Instead, they were showing discipline. The kind of discipline only a powerful force could afford. Across the galaxy, public opinion began to change. News networks replayed Admiral Reed's speech. Experts analyzed human military strategy. Historians examined Earth's past. For the first time, billions of citizens started asking the same question. Who were humans really? The answer surprised many. Reports revealed how often humanity had helped Alliance worlds during disasters, how human engineers repaired damaged colonies, how human doctors volunteered in plague zones, how human ships answered distress calls that others ignored. The more people learned, the harder it became to support Commander Vrax. His image as a hero began to crack. Then the investigation started. Alliance leaders ordered a full review of his actions. Every public incident, every diplomatic complaint, every military report. The results were worse than anyone expected. Evidence showed years of abuse, years of intimidation, years of violations hidden behind his reputation. Many officers had stayed silent because Vrax was powerful. Now they were finally speaking. Witness after witness came forward. One captain described how Vrax humiliated smaller species during military exercises. Another revealed how he ignored Alliance regulations. Others reported threats, insults, and reckless behavior. The list grew longer every day. Inside Alliance headquarters, emergency hearings began. The giant chamber was packed with reporters. Military leaders filled the seats. Diplomats watched from observation balconies. Every major news network broadcast the proceedings live. Commander Vrax sat alone at the center of the room. The sight shocked many viewers. Only weeks earlier, he had been surrounded by supporters. Now most of them were gone. Nobody wanted to stand beside him anymore. The hearing lasted for hours. Evidence appeared on giant screens. Recordings, reports, witness statements. One by one, his actions were exposed. Each revelation damaged his reputation further. For the first time in years, Vrax had no clever response, no confident smile, no audience cheering his words, only silence. Then came the moment that changed everything. A recording from a Unity broadcast appeared. The entire chamber watched. Vrax insulting the human delegation. Vrax violating diplomatic law. Vrax ordering security forces to remove peaceful representatives. The footage ended. Silence filled the room. No one defended him. No one even tried. The evidence was impossible to deny. The chairman of the hearing looked down at Vrax. "Commander, do you wish to explain your actions?" For several seconds, Vrax said nothing. Then he stood. Many expected another arrogant speech, another excuse, another attempt to shift blame. Instead, his voice sounded tired. For the first time, he looked like an old soldier rather than a legendary warrior. "I believed humanity was weak." The room remained silent. Vrax lowered his head slightly. "I thought they would never respond." His words echoed through the chamber. Millions watched from home. Billions listened across the stars. The chairman spoke again. "And now," Vrax hesitated. Then he answered honestly, "Now I know I was wrong." The statement spread across the galaxy within minutes. A commander once feared by entire sectors had finally admitted his mistake, but the damage was already done. The hearing continued. By the end of the day, the verdict was announced. Commander Vrax was removed from command. His military authority was revoked. His honors were suspended pending review. His career was finished. The room remained silent as security officers escorted him away. No cheers, no celebration, only quiet disappointment, because everyone understood something important. This crisis had never needed to happen. One person's arrogance had nearly pushed the galaxy into conflict. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship in orbit above Karen Prime, Sergeant Daniel Hayes watched the news coverage. Several officers stood nearby. One young lieutenant smiled. "Looks like it's over." Hayes continued watching the screen. "Not yet." The lieutenant looked confused. "The hearing is finished." Hayes nodded. The hearing was the easy part. The officer frowned. "What do you mean?" Hayes looked out the observation window. The planet below glowed against the darkness of space. Trust takes longer to repair than damage. The young officer thought about those words, then slowly nodded. He understood. Humanity had proven its strength, but proving strength and earning respect were different things. A few hours later, Alliance leaders requested a direct meeting with human representatives. The conference took place inside a secure orbital station. Military commanders from dozens of species attended. The atmosphere was tense. Many expected anger from humans. Many expected demands. Instead, they received something unexpected: professionalism. Admiral Reed entered the room calmly. He greeted every delegate respectfully. Then he sat down. No threats, no insults, no revenge. The contrast was impossible to ignore. One Alliance leader finally asked a question everyone wanted answered. "Why didn't you attack?" The room became silent. Admiral Reed considered the question carefully. Then he answered, "Because the goal was never war." Several delegates exchanged surprised looks. Reed continued, "If we wanted destruction, we would have arrived differently." Nobody argued. The statement felt less like a threat and more like a simple fact. The admiral folded his hands. "We want accountability." Another delegate spoke. "You mobilized thousands of ships." "Yes." "Without firing a weapon." "Yes." The delegate shook his head in disbelief. Most species would have chosen violence. A small smile appeared on Reed's face. "That is why most species misunderstand humanity." The room fell silent again. For years, the galaxy had measured strength by firepower. Humans measured it differently. The strongest person was the one who could win a fight and still choose peace. As the meeting ended, new agreements were signed. Human diplomats were released. Formal apologies were issued. Military cooperation programs were expanded. Slowly, tensions began to ease. And as human fleets prepared to leave Alliance space, billions watched them depart, not with fear, not with hatred, but with respect. The respect humanity had earned through patience, discipline, and strength. Yet far away, sitting alone in a quiet detention facility, former Commander Vrax stared out a small window. For the first time in his life, nobody saluted him. Nobody praised him. Nobody feared him. And as he watched the stars above, he finally understood the lesson that had cost him everything. The most dangerous enemy was never the one that shouted the loudest. It was the one that stayed silent until it absolutely had to speak. 6 months later, the galaxy looked very different. The crisis that had nearly started a war was over. The human fleets had returned home. The emergency meetings had ended. Trade routes were operating normally again. At first glance, everything seemed peaceful. But beneath the surface, something important had changed. The galaxy no longer saw humanity the same way. For decades, humans had been treated as a minor species, ignored, mocked, underestimated. Now that image was gone forever. Across hundreds of worlds, military academies began studying the human response crisis. Students spent hours analyzing every decision, every message, every movement. The lesson surprised many young officers. Humanity had mobilized one of the largest military operations in galactic history. Yet not a single city had been attacked. Not a single civilian had been harmed. Not a single battle had been fought. Many cadets found it harder to understand than war itself. One instructor explained it simply. Humans achieved victory before the first shot was fired. The classroom remained silent. The lesson spread across the galaxy. Strength was not measured by destruction. Strength was measured by control. And humanity had shown more control than anyone expected. On Earth, life returned to normal. Cities remained busy. Ships crossed the skies. Families continued their daily routines. Most humans never considered themselves heroes. To them, the crisis had been about something simple. Respect. Nothing more. Sergeant Daniel Hayes had returned home weeks earlier. He was no celebrity, no politician, no famous leader, just a Marine doing his job. One afternoon, he visited a small military cemetery outside his hometown. The place was quiet. Rows of white markers stretched across a green hillside. Many belonged to soldiers from wars long before humanity reached the stars. Hayes walked slowly between them. The wind moved gently through the trees. After a few minutes, a young reporter approached him. She had been waiting nearby. "Sergeant Hayes?" He nodded. She smiled nervously. "I only want to ask one question." Hayes stopped walking. The reporter activated her recorder. "After everything that happened, do you hate Commander Vrax?" The Marine looked toward the horizon. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he shook his head. "No." The reporter seemed surprised. "He insulted you." "Yes." "He embarrassed humanity." "Yes." "He nearly caused a war." "Yes." The reporter lowered her recorder slightly. "Then why don't you hate him?" Hayes looked back at the cemetery. Rows of soldiers stood silently beneath the afternoon sun. Finally, he answered, "Because hate doesn't solve problems." The reporter remained silent. Hayes continued, "Understanding solves problems." The interview lasted only a few minutes. Yet those words spread across the galaxy. Many people expected anger from humanity. Instead, they found wisdom. Months later, new relationships began forming between Earth and Alliance worlds. Military exchanges increased. Scientific cooperation expanded. Trade reached record levels. Species that once ignored humans now wanted partnerships. Others simply wanted to learn. Among them was Ambassador Ilera. She had become one of humanity's strongest supporters inside the Alliance. After studying Earth for months, she finally visited the planet herself. The trip changed her perspective completely. She visited cities, universities, factories, spaceports. Everywhere she went, she noticed the same thing. Humans were builders. They constantly improved things. They fixed problems. They created solutions. Even after surviving countless hardships throughout history, they remained optimistic. That impressed her more than any warship. One evening, during a speech before Alliance leaders, Ilera shared her observations. The hall was packed. Thousands listened. Millions watched through broadcasts. She stood at the podium and spoke clearly. The galaxy misunderstood humanity. The audience became quiet. We judged them by their appearance. A holographic image of Earth appeared behind her. We saw one world and assumed it was small. Another image appeared. Human colonies, shipyards, research stations, universities, families, communities. We saw patience and assumed weakness. The room remained silent. Then Alara smiled. The truth is much more interesting. Many listeners nodded because they finally understood. Humanity had never needed to prove its strength. Its actions spoke louder than words. Far away, on a remote world near the edge of Alliance space, former Commander Vrax lived in quiet retirement. His military career was over. His fame was gone. His medals had been removed. Most people forgot about him. But he never forgot what happened. Each morning, he sat outside a small house overlooking the sea. And each morning he thought about the same day. The day he mocked a human marine. The day everything changed. For a long time, he blamed others. Then he blamed circumstances. Eventually, he accepted the truth. The mistake had been his. One afternoon, a delivery ship arrived. The pilot handed him a small package. There was no return address. Curious, Vrax opened it. Inside was a single-frame photograph. It showed the Galactic Alliance summit, the arena, the crowd, and one human marine standing calmly while thousands laughed. Attached to the frame was a note, only one sentence. Respect is earned by character, not size. Vrax stared at the message for a long time. Then, slowly he smiled, not the arrogant smile he once wore. A different one, a wiser one. For the first time, he truly understood the lesson. Years later, historians would write books about the crisis. Military academies would teach it. Leaders would reference it during negotiations. But most people remembered it in a much simpler way. A proud alien soldier mocked a U.S. Marine. He believed humanity was weak. He believed humans would stay silent forever. He believed respect belonged only to the powerful. He was wrong, because when humanity finally stood up, they did not answer with rage. They answered with discipline. They answered with unity. They answered with strength. And from that day forward, every species in the galaxy remembered one important truth. Never mistake human patience for weakness, because behind that patience stands a force powerful enough to shake the stars.